Well, it's come to this. Putting has been the bane of my existence over the last 10 years. So it's time I take a stand, and I'm going to do so via broomstick putting. We've seen broomstick putting on the PGA Tour and the Seniors Tour with the likes of Bernard Langer and Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover had the yips with a traditional putter, switched over to this exact model, and well, he's won multiple times on the PGA Tour this season. So it's got to work for me. I've got the L.A.B Golf Mez Max in broomstick version, very long. It's forgiving, zero torque, and it's got some wonderful alignment to it as well. Surely this will help me improve my putting, right? I'm gonna need someone though to help me understand how to use it, how to do broomstick putting. And that's what we're gonna do right now. Right, Jackson, talk to me about broomstick putting. What makes it tick?
I mean, I think more than anything with belly putters, it's stability, right. I'd say. For people that, it's not always the case, but for people that struggle with shorter putters, you know, a lot of additional weight in the head, you know, using generally bigger muscles, you're taking the wrists out a lot. I think it just adds a lot of stability for people that, not always, like I said, that struggle, but just really does allow you to use the bigger muscles in your stroke and takes out a lot of the smaller levers that...
So would this make me potentially more consistent with my putting? Is that what it does?
Definitely, you know, like I said, it's very dependent on the player. I think with sort of working with players with this, these longer putters, depending on where you struggle, like I said, if you use your arms, your wrists too much, your arms too much,
right.
It definitely can be very beneficial, you know. So it just depends on the player. For some people it makes their stroke worse, but
so it could work, but not quite.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Well, I have absolutely no idea how to use this. I'll just tell everyone watching right now. I've been using it a little bit on my putting mat inside, but I could be using it completely wrong. So could we just go to a hole right now and just go through setup? Because I could be doing completely the opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing and actually making it worse. Just from like 10 foot or so?
Perfect.
Cool, let's do it.
Right, so there's generally, when it comes to sort of how you set up to a broom handle, there's a few sort of changes that you'd make to than sort of with a traditional stroke.
Okay.
There's a fair few changes, but I think the two key ones are, the first one is obviously getting the right amount of sort of bend from the waist. You know, you're naturally a lot taller with a taller putter, so it's sort of trying to find that medium. And then the second thing I generally see whenever I've seen people use it is they always want to keep this left arm tucked against their body.
Right.
And if you're thinking you're rocking the entire shoulders, you generally want to try and get the left elbow pointing roughly towards the target.
Okay.
Because that just allows you, as you start to rock your shoulders, for everything to move more down the target line. When it's tucked in, it's very easy to start to get your shoulders offline.
So really a flared elbow.
That's it. So it doesn't have to be bang on, but sort of roughly in that direction. Again, you look at like really good players that have used the long putter. Generally, they have that in common.
Okay.
So that would be the first thing. Like I said, getting the right amount of bend from the waist, get the elbow towards the target, and then the second thing is really grip. You know, and you can use any grip to a degree depending on what you need to target. But sort of the two key grips are generally, say, the pencil grip.
Okay.
So being more this way, or sort of like Bernard Langer's grip where he sort of holds it a bit more in the lifeline like this.
Yeah.
And the reason you go for those two is if you try to grip the right hand sort of traditionally, you can see that creates quite a strong sort of angle in that wrist, and I can sort of feel myself becoming quite restricted. When I sort of just allow it to hang naturally and just put my hand on, it naturally wants to sit in that sort of fashion, right?
Okay.
So they're the two grips, or the two setup keys that I would look for.
So in terms of how the feel base of this is just what feels natural, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, like it's just a case of sort of having a tinker of seeing which grip feels most comfortable with the sort of the hand this way. You can either have it through the middle fingers, or you can just have it through the index finger.
Sure. Okay, so there's no real right and wrong as to what grip you choose. It's whatever's right, whatever feels good. Okay, I'll give it a go from what you've just said there, because I think I've been doing what Adam Scott's been doing. People say I look like him. Anyway, yeah. So I've been doing the claw grip, what I would say. I haven't really gone into what Bernard Langer does, and that's what you said is that one there. I would think that would feel a little bit too, just feel a bit too funky for me. I'm not really sure, because it's that feels more like a completely new putting stroke, whereas this feels like you are continuing claw in a more robust way.
Sure.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, definitely.
I think my problem is, well, you know what? I won't say it, and I'll see if you can see anything. Yeah, it rolls nicely. That's the one thing. I think I picked the right belly putter for this.
Sure.
As the L.A.B does feel very, very soft, and it is quite heavy.
That was a nice stroke.
That was a nice stroke. Yeah. See, this is a relatively straight putt. I'm not missing them by miles, but it just feels a bit weird. It's not bad. Can you see anything massive there in those 3 putts?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I've picked up on there.
Sure.
That we can have a look at. So I'd say, in terms of when we're set up, you know, just like generally every club in the bag, maybe bar driver, you'd like to have the hands slightly ahead of the header impact.
Okay.
So again, another trait among players that use the belly putter is if you take your setup for me, as you would.
Sure. Okay.
And if you say that's the shaft completely vertical, I'd probably like to see it a little bit more.
Really a bit more shaft lean.
A bit more there. So it probably is like inside of the left chest.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of pointing towards my left nipple.
That's
almost.
it.
Yeah.
Nipple,
if I have one, that is. Okay. Anything else?
And I would say, so where we were talking about getting this arm straight on the shaft, your hand is moving into a bit of flexion this way.
Okay.
So I'd like to see that a bit more flush, right? So if you go where you're comfortable for me,
okay,
you can see how it had a bit of cupping that way.
Oh, I see. So more like
to see it
that.
like that. So
interesting.
The whole forearm
so
is
it's
nice
a real hinge rather than. I guess that breaks it, doesn't it? Yeah. If I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense now.
So then a good visual from there is if you imagine this. If you take your setup again.
Yep.
If you imagine this is forming a triangle.
Wow.
Trying to keep that triangle.
Yeah. But this the whole time. Keep that
the whole way
triangle
through
there.
the stroke. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. That stroke felt awful. It's gone in, hasn't it? Good. Okay. That actually felt okay. I've missed it. Okay. But that felt okay. I mean, the roll's good. Yeah, is the one thing I will say.
The consistency with the ball speed as well, you know, which is obviously a really good sign.
Yeah.
You know, like in terms of you talking there about stroke direction, you know, as the shaft is compared to most putters very close to being vertical.
Yeah.
The more vertical the shaft, the more neutral, the straighter the stroke should feel. So it's not a surprise where maybe with a short putter you naturally see a bit of arc earlier on in the stroke, where to you, maybe that last stroke that went in, it felt like it went outside a long way, but it might have been moving back quite neutral, right?
So it's more feel versus real type thing.
That's it. So the more vertical the shaft, the more straight through the strokes can go, which is why most of the time belly putters are centre shafted, because they're not sort of trying to target a particular arc. It's more just it's very linear with how the stroke should move.
Interesting.
Nice.
That felt really nice.
Lovely stroke.
This is worrying, isn't it?
It's a tiny bit more lean with the shaft.
Yeah, point. Okay.
Great.
So left nipple and straight wrist. Didn't think I'd be saying that today. Bit off the toe. Also, it's consistent.
So I think as well, like you were just saying there about like they're becoming more and more popular, i.e. Lucas Glover winning.
Yes.
I honestly think that's just a lot to do with the technology's improved a lot. You know, there was always that stigma around broomstick putters they were very stable, good from short range, but the further away we got, people always used to lose a lot of feel and touch. And I think, say even with these putters, you know, like the tech's improved so much that you don't lose as much as you used to.
Yeah.
And I think like they're able to measure it better, you know, quantifiable why that is the case.
So brands have really looked into this in a bit more detail rather than just chucking a 45-inch shaft in there.
Exactly.
They're putting a lot more behind this.
100%.
I mean, I've seen as well, and this is not a paper video or anything like that, but L.A.B golf especially, I think, have come to the top of the list now for broomstick putters, which I think is quite interesting because they do really apply themselves in zero torque, stuff like that. Yeah. That is, as you said in the introduction here, stability in a nutshell. And if you're having stability with the putter head, stability with broomstick, and stability with the technology, it should mean that you are, again, I'm saying should rather than will, you should improve your putting, which I will find out. So left nipple, straight wrist. It feels really good. That's worrying how good that feels. When I get it right, like that just felt
stable.
Very stable. A counter for stable for this video. One thing I do want to touch on after I just hold this one, and you actually just said it earlier. I'm gonna love when I get a 10-foot birdie putt like this. With arm lock putting and other styles of putting, the feel that you have to generate, because it is so different from 30, 40, 50 foot, is that still a thing? Or we'll touch on that now after I hold this part, but how do you get around that? Is it just practice, do you think?
I think anything to do with touch and feel in golf, it is practice. You
Right.
know, it's just putting in the hours and yeah, just developing that skill by graft.
Sure.
You know,
'Cause it's not a myth, is it? It's not something that is actually true. It's more to the point that because this is so different to the spider putter there on the floor, which is 35 inches, it's going to take some time. It would be almost naive for someone, a club golfer, to go up on the first tee or first green with a 40-foot putt and think they're going to two-putt this very easily.
That's it, 100%. People always, if you change the length of the club dramatically, you know, with a 7-iron, you've played traditional 37-inch 7-iron, and then you decided to make it 39 inches. Probably going to take a bit of getting used to. So it's no different when it comes to a putter, you know, like completely changing your feel, what muscles are used.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of putting in the practice.
Yeah.
Lovely stroke again there.
We're in trouble.
Really, really good.
We're in trouble, guys. But as this is quite now a confidence builder, let's go to, say, 40 foot now.
Yep.
And then just see how big of a difference it's going to make. Because right now, I feel like I'm kind of lock and loaded, especially with what you said with the left elbow. I feel like I'm almost locked in. Once I start that stroke to be a little bit bigger,
Might change.
let's see.
Let's see.
43 foot here at Fox Hills. Jackson, how would you combat this?
I mean, I think, again, feel, you know, and I think the biggest thing about long putts is trying to really soften yourself up to be able to get as much feel as you can, you know, and I think talking about broomstick putters, one of the things that I see generally when players set up, they like to get their arm, or they always seem to have their arm too straight.
Okay.
You know, and if you think about if I had a ball in my right hand and I was going to roll it towards that hole, your arm's probably going to be quite soft. You've got a bit of bend in the elbow. If you had your arm dead straight and tried to roll it, you'd definitely lose a lot of feel. So I'd say trying to keep your arm nice and soft, nice and relaxed, just so you can develop as much feel as you can, or you give yourself the chance to have as much feel as you can.
Okay.
So I'd say definitely that is something I would look for. You know, even when we were hitting a few of them shorter ones, even though the stroke looked really good, you could see the arm was starting to extend a bit too much. So it's just a case of keeping that flexion correct in that
Right,
arm.
okay, so keep it loose in your right arm rather than rigid and locked in.
That's it, you know.
Okay.
And a way of sort of getting yourself into that position would be take your setup, left hand on, and then if you just sort of let your right arm hang completely naturally, see how it naturally has a bit of bend, it doesn't straighten, and then it's just a case of applying it from there.
Okay,
you know, so you see how that keeps it naturally nice and flexed.
You mentioned the two grips as well, in regards to kind of feel and stuff. Could I, or could anyone watching this video who has a broomstick putter, go from the claw grip to, you know, the funny spot grip to enhance feel if they think that's worth it for them?
Definitely, you know, and I think that different players will have different preferences for that. If we were using the example of, as you said, the two grips, for some players that they might feel like they've got more control or more feel when they use, say, the pencil. Some players might feel they've got more feel control when they use the spot grip. So again, it's a case of just experimenting, you know, hit long putts with each grip, look at the results, see which one gives you the most consistency in terms of that ball speed and which one gives you the most confidence and feel, you know. Okay,
which one would you use?
I think from range, I'd probably like to have a little bit more control. So I'd probably use the spot grip, as we're calling it, for the longer ones, and then probably the pencil for the shorter range, where it's a little bit more.
Interesting. I've never really thought of that. Why don't you show me the line, because I'm going to cheat, and then I'll give it a go with both grips. That is good.
A few more rolls.
Right on line, right on line. That did look a little bit more natural doing that.
I think it's just you've got, because it's running through the lifelines a bit more, you know, you've just got a little bit more control of how far the putter's swinging and what speed we're using.
I know what you mean, okay.
Right, so if you take your setup, I think if we try the pencil first.
Pencil first, okay.
So if we remember that, the left arm, the left wrist structure, and then if you, again, let that right arm hang nice and naturally, and then just apply it to the grip. Okay. See how naturally that gives us a hair of softness here, right?
Okay, so I'm not locked up.
Good stroke. It's going in.
Is that going to go in? No.
Great putt.
I towed it just like a little bit, but it felt, I think I would feel really, really uncomfortable not knowing the information that you've just given me within the last 20 minutes or so, because I personally would lock up my right arm because I think I've seen things like Bryson saying you want to be locked up, like type thing, and just rotate. So I would definitely be like, lock this in and really almost like be tensing the tricep in a way, and not, if I felt like my right arm was loose, I feel like I'd be almost like a figure of 8 when putting. But is it because this is so, not locked in, but so stable that this doesn't have to be then rigid?
Well, that's exactly it, you know, like that sort of like visualization, as we were talking about, of having sort of that triangle kept there. That's sort of your anchor.
Yeah.
And then the right hand is giving you that feel, you know. For most golfers, right-handed, that's where we like the feel.
Okay.
The feel to be, you know. Look, it's not completely like jelly.
Yeah.
You know, it's that fine line between, same as sort of people talk about grip pressure. Yeah. You know, you want feel, at the same time you want stability. You don't want to be holding it so loose that you're going to let go of it. You know? Same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that structure is very natural. You know, when you're in this position and the arm just hangs, that's completely natural. So it shouldn't really deviate too much. No. You know, the more we change that, the more it's got a chance of deviating, because it's not natural for us to be in that position.
Okay, interesting. I'll give it one more go with the claw one and see what, then go to the spot grip. So bad strike.
Still not too bad. It's not 43 feet.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
It's not actually that
good.
bad. I'll do one more with the claw grip because I want to see what my overall dispersion is from here and almost bust that myth that we were talking about of feel, and then see which one works personally for me. That felt really nice.
Great putt.
That could be in. That could be in. Oh, that was cruel. That felt good, but I'm going to see what happens when I use a spot grip, because I feel like it could lead to a little bit more stability. So the Spock grip, I don't actually know what it's called. We're calling it the Spock grip today, right? Yeah. It's, I feel like maybe feels a little bit more unnatural just from brief practice, but might be a bit more stable. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just more points of contact. Right. You know, like when you're sort of using the pencil grip, it's just running through the outside of the index finger and the inside of the thumb. Yeah. The spot grip just runs a little bit more through the centre of the hand, you know, through the palm. So it's just a little bit more contact on the club. And I mean, we'll see, because everyone's different, as we spoke about, you know.
Yeah, my just thought is it going to lead to a weirder stroke, a less optimal stroke? I don't know.
Another good putt.
That could be in.
Great putt. Really, really good. Not a tricky, not easy putt this, you know, uphill then downhill towards the hole, so.
Uh-oh.
Soft.
That wasn't very good. That felt nice.
That's a good putt. Going in. Maybe a foot past?
Maybe a foot past. That's not too bad. I mean, I don't think from this initial testing that I can really give a concrete, okay, I'm using this grip for longer putts. I'm going to need to do a little bit more experimentation to see if I want to use Spock or claw. That'll probably involve on-course testing as well, where I'm actually playing in Stableford and I'm like, right, I'm going to play a Stableford doing that today. Let's go grab these balls now and just talk about that cheat sheet. So I feel like we've got quite an effective routine in place for myself, but for a lot of people watching this video who may be trying out broomstick putting, what checklist would you have? Let's say we've got any length of putt from 2 foot to 80 foot. What checklist would you have in place to make sure that you are the most optimal with this belly putter?
I think it's just routine, you know, like you hear about it a lot, you know, consistent routine and consistent result. So I think you should treat every putt the same. Once you've sort of put in the reps to establish which grip you prefer, if you want to change, you might want to keep the same grip for everything. If you do want to change grip, it's a case of building the routine to put you in a consistent setup position so we can hopefully get consistent results. And yeah, just starting from the ground up, I would say. Okay.
And what would that be in terms of ground up, just if you show me?
So I would say that generally, obviously, you're trying to set yourself around the putter. Yep. Even with short putters, a big mistake I see is players sort of making a practice stroke and then putting the putter in, and then they're still. So it's a case of putter going in first and then building your stance around that. So with specifically the broomstick, I would say putting the putter in, using your right hand so we don't knock the ball.
Yeah,
I've done that a few times. And then probably building your stance, and then from there it's a case of, I would say, really focusing on getting this left arm correct. You know, nice flat wrist, forming that triangle we spoke about, and then just again, Adam Scott is a good example of how consistent he is with his routine. As we know, he's very disciplined with his golf.
Yes.
And then letting the arm really naturally hang, focusing on the target, and then just applying your grip from there, you know.
Okay.
One of the other things that, since they've obviously got rid of the anchoring that people do, is putting their thumb on top of the putter like this, and then as they're about to go, they take it off, just to definitely make sure that we're not
Go to jail.
going to jail or people accusing us of anchoring. If you're taking the thumb away, we're definitely not in contact.
Okay. My putting has been bad, so my thought behind this is I'm going to use this for 3 months on the course and also off the course by putting the reps in, because this isn't just like changing from TaylorMade to Callaway, it's from like changing from English to French almost in a way, isn't it? So it will involve a lot of practice just on my putting mat and also on the putting greens here. What I want to do is after 3 months, we touch upon this in 3 months' time. It's now towards the end of October, towards the end of January, February, we touch upon it again, whether it's at Fox Hills or it's playing on the course. We'll see my findings. You'll talk to me about what could work, what couldn't work, and then we can make a decision together, because I'm not very good at golf. I would need a professional like yourself to tell me what's what, and we can decide based on the results that I've got, whether my handicap's gone down or up, the stats that I can see via Arcos or Shot Scope. We can see if it's helped my game or if it's hindered my game, because although I'm saying in this video, broomstick putting can really help, it might not, right? There is still that chance that it may actually make my putting stroke worse. There's always variables in play, isn't there?
100%, exactly that, you know, and you might see gains from short distance but lose shots from further away, or vice versa, you know. So like you said, it's a case of looking at it as a whole.
Yeah. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing the results of that. Jackson, thank you very much for the lesson today. And guys, I hope you have taken a lot of information for this video. If you want to re-watch this video, because there's so many interesting points that Jackson has told me, make sure you do that, because there's a little bit of a checklist now that you can see if you are trying out broomstick putting, to actually make sure you're the best putter possible. So let me know down in the comments if you have a broomstick putter and what you thought about this video with L.A.B Golf 2. If you are new to Golf Magic, smash that subscribe button. In 3 months' time, you're going to see me and Jackson again, and hopefully I'll be off scratch or better. What do we think?
I reckon we've got a good chance based on these.
Yeah, exactly. You never know, guys. We'll catch you in the next video.